Hello YouTube, this is going to be a January 2019 Tellarknight deck profile for Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is post-ban list, so there's no Soul Charge or no Rhongo in this deck. I do feel like Rhongo and Soul Charge were both really good hits, really good decisions to be banned. It is a little bit unfortunate though, because Tellarknights I feel were one of the few decks that could summon Rhongo legitimately and fairly, not all the time, not a guaranteed for every game. And this deck is actually centered around level 4 warriors, and I just feel like it's unfortunate because Rhongo really was a good fit in the Tellarknight strategy. But here is the deck profile post ban list. So we start off with triple Tellarknight Deneb, which is a Rhoda upon summon. All of these Tellars are summon effects and are hard ones per turns. Deneb, there's a lot of ways you can summon it. I mean, via the normal summon, via Vega, via Call of the Haunted, via Altair. Just a lot of opportunities to use Deneb. We got triple Altair, which is a Call of the Haunted upon summon, or a Monster Reborn upon summon. Just another way to get your boards to be bigger and more powerful, and then go into XYZ monsters. Altair and Deneb are probably the most important Tellarknights. But the next one, High, which I run at 3, is also important. A little slow if it's the only card in your starting hand to summon, the only monster. But it sends from deck to grave 1 Tellarknight upon summon. So a lot of these Tellarknights, they go together, they work in conjunction with each other. Send Deneb from deck to grave with the High. Resurrect Deneb with Altair, get the summon effect of Deneb. A lot of times you're swarming the field, and even during your opponent's turn, these summon effects can go off. So just a lot of basic Yu-Gi-Oh effects. I mean, they're all search or resurrect or send from deck to grave. A lot of normal, usual, typical kind of effects that you would expect from Yu-Gi-Oh! But because they're so easy to pull off just upon summon, Tellarknights are still really strong. We got double Vega, which is a marauding captain pretty much for Tellarknights. You don't want to see any more than 1 Vega in your hand, so I don't run more than 2. Thinking about cutting it to 1 actually, but you can't special summon Vega with Vega. And there are a low amount of monsters in this deck to start with, but Vega is still a pretty strong card. Run it at 2. And then finally for the Tellarknights, 1 Al-Sam, which inflicts 1,000 damage upon summon, and is just another Tellarknight name to include into the deck to give 1 more monster to the lineup. So those are the Tellarknight monsters. For the hand traps, got double Ash. Just for your information, Ash in this deck would stop. I run Duality in Desires, which is obvious, but it would also stop Deneb from searching, and it would stop Skybridge from specialing from the deck. So Ash in this deck, and in every video that I've made in so many decks, Ash will stop a lot. Also, we got double Veiler, which, like I've said before in my other videos, I do prefer over Ogre. I just feel like it just hits more things, and it will be overall a better counter to your opponent's play, because they won't be able to get so many effects off and load up their graveyard or search from so many things. I think Veiler is better for hitting the first card in your opponent's series of plays, rather than destroying one important monster but still letting that monster and the monsters before it get its effects. So I just go with Veiler. So those are the hand traps. For the spells, triple Desires. The plus is really important, but there is a chance that you can banish all of your Altairs or all of your Denebs, especially Deneb being one that you do not want to see all 3 of them banished. But Desires is pretty necessary for the deck because you do need the draw power, and Desires just works in this deck because besides the unfortunate circumstance of banishing all of your certain monster, I mean, there's always going to be the risk of that. But there are no cards specifically where you only run 1 and you absolutely need it. So I just feel like it's a pretty important card. Maybe drop this to 2, but I run it at 3. Then we got triple Duality, the other search draw kind of thing. I mean, just doesn't search, but it adds from your deck. So you need these cards, I would say. Otherwise, the deck is pretty slow. Also, Duality is good because you can fish like Altergeist. You can fish for whatever traps you need. So Duality kind of lets you handpick, and it doesn't cost you anything like Pot of Desires. Then we got a double Shared Ride. I was thinking of what to put in over Soul Charge, but Shared Ride is just another good draw card. Unfortunately, it doesn't let you draw when your opponent draws, only when they add. But Shared Ride being a quick play. Also, it's kind of a staple on a lot of side decks too nowadays, so I feel like Shared Ride was a good call. Then we got double Skybridge, Tellarknight Skybridge. Shuffles your Teller that you control into the deck, and then specials a Teller with a different name from your deck. So you can use the Tellarknight effect of one monster, and then with Skybridge get another one from your deck. Use that second one's effect. So let's say the first one was a Knuckle High, send Deneb to the grave, use Skybridge, get Altair, get back your Deneb, search from the Deneb. Just this endless string of Tellarknight effects that can drive your opponent crazy, and Skybridge certainly helps with that. I main one Twin Twisters because back row is always going to be a thing, and I don't think maining Twin Twisters is really the worst call. Then we got Raigeki. It's kind of an older deck. 2015, 2016, I think, was the heyday, so Raigeki was still very strong then, and it's still a strong card, but I feel like this fits in kind of thematically. One Rhoda, all the monsters are warriors, and no Soul Charge. I normally put Soul Charge and this card together, but only one lone monster reborn. So sad. And those are the spells. For the traps, we got triple Call of the Haunted. Just a kind of a staple for the Tellarknight deck because Trigger can bounce your field to your hand, and you can reuse the Call of the Haunted, them being continuous, so you can keep it on the field. Of course, all the Tellars are summon effects, so Call of the Haunted will get you that one extra summon that you probably need, or that you might need to make your play. Then we got triple Nova Alpha, which is the judgment of the deck. It doesn't negate summons, but negates effect instead of that summon and spell and trap too. You have to send one face-up Tellarknight you control to the grave as cost, but it does negate pretty much anything, and then you get to draw one card to replace the card that you just destroyed or sent to the grave. Nova Alpha, I see some people playing it at 2, but I feel like this is one of the deck's strongest assets, is that you can really control the board and stop your opponent from playing at their pace, but rather playing at your own. Then we got the Solemn Brigade at full capacity, triple strike, 1 warning, and 1 Metal Raider Judgment, which does make it better, I promise. If you're playing traps, I mean, this is the budget, this is the power right here. I mean, this is kind of a control deck. It's a slower deck. It does run traps, so probably want to go with the Solemn Brigade. Not a bad call. Then for the extra deck, we got triple Tellarknight Trigger. Bounces the entire field when it's XYZ summoned. So like I said, that bounces, besides Trigger, it bounces everything besides itself. So like I said, that bounces your Call of the Haunteds, or if you were running Oasis, that would bounce that too. So a lot of times you can reuse those traps that you had already used. Also, it discards 1 random card from your opponent's hand. So sometimes I like to use Trigger preemptively by summoning it during the first turn and then discarding 1 card from my opponent's hand. Just like if I feel that his deck is maybe statistically better than Tellarknight's, I can get a bit of a jump on him by making him have 1 less card. Also, if this card with XYZ material is sent to the grave, target 1 Teller in your grave and then special summon it. So it's just another way to get your Tellarknight monster's effects active via this card, having a useful graveyard effect. We got double Dark Tellarknight Battlemaias, which is the 2-card Trigger. Instead of 3 Tellarknight level 4 monsters, you can use 2, and then put 1 light XYZ over this card. So you can put Trigger like that, or you can put Deltaros like that for that matter, or Constellar Diamond. So really useful card here, Battlemaias. So here's the Deltaros. Just detach 1, destroy 1. Kind of a staple on a lot of rank 4 XYZ decks. Doesn't have to be a Tellarknight deck to use Deltaros. Has a graveyard effect. You can special a Teller from your hand or deck when it's sent to the grave. This one does not require XYZ materials to be on this card to use that effect, so that's a little bit of a distinction from Trigger. Then we got 1 Constellar Diamond, a myriad of effects on this guy. A lot of people use this card with Lair of Darkness recently, because during either player's turn, when an opponent's dark monster activates its effect, detach 1 from this card, negate the activation, destroy it. So Lair of Darkness would obviously make all their monsters dark. That can be useful against just this card alone. No Lair of Darkness can be useful against some decks. Lair of Darkness, I feel like, is a bit more, maybe a side card, but not necessary to run because it taking up that spot in the main deck just for this one XYZ monster. I'm not sure if that's the best strategy, but it's definitely a strategy. So try it out if you have both those cards, or if you want to try it online. Also, while this card has XYZ material, neither player can send cards from deck to grave, and also any card that returns from grave to hand is banished instead. So that will kill like a lot of deck to grave reliant decks and graveyard reliant decks. Also, it's just kind of like a solid floodgate to just stop a big portion of Yu-Gi-Oh's effects from going off. So if it has XYZ material. Then the next monsters are all staple XYZ rank 4s. We got Castel, and it goes without saying there, just like probably the best rank 4. Then Dweller, another one, just solid, really like no explanation needed for these guys. And then Honor Arc just fits right in for that Hall of Fame of rank 4 toolbox. And then finally we got the one Bujinte Tsukuyomi, which is always fun to say. Requires 2 level 4 light monsters, so perfect in this deck. Turns your 1 card into 2. Just turns your hand, whether it be 1 or 2 cards. It could be more than that, but you don't want to do that if you have 3 cards or more in your hand. Just replaces those, either the 1 or 2, your whole hand, I should say, with 2 new cards. So kind of something you can do on the first turn if you're going first and you can't go into any of these because your opponent doesn't really. I mean, you can sometimes go into Dweller, but your opponent doesn't have anything to shuffle back into the deck or to attach to Honor Arc. Bujinte Tsukuyomi can maybe set you up with some hand traps. And then for the Link monsters, I got 1 Hip Potion again. Hip Potion again is useful in this deck because all the monsters are light, all the main deck monsters except for Ash. It's got a graveyard effect too, so just solid like elemental Link. I mean, not every deck makes use of these Mrs. Radiant, Doolittle Chimera, Hip Potion gun type cards, but this deck certainly can. 1 Lamphalinkus because Hip Potion is all around better, except for the one situation where you have Honor Arc in the extra zone, or Dweller in the extra zone, or Castel in the extra zone. Rhongo too would be one of these situations, but because it's dark. But these monsters are not light, wind, water, so you can't clear up that zone with anything but Lamphalinkus in this extra deck. I mean, Decode Talker would do the same thing. 1 Isolde, 2 Tales of the Noble Knights. Not using any equip spells in this deck because I feel like that does get cloggy. I mean, all the monsters are level 4, so you'd have to run safely 5 equip spells just in case you draw 1 to send 4 to the grave. I know a lot of decks running Phantom Knights will run 4 equip spells, but I feel like it's just a little too risky. So I'm only using Isolde's search effect, and I can't use that card that I searched on the same turn, but still a solid card. And then finally I have a Borlo Dragon, which is kind of an alternative to Trigger if you don't want to bounce the entire field. So that is the Tellarknight deck profile for January 2019. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.